In this video, I'm going to break down the 4 stages of reinvention. And more importantly, I'm going to help you figure out exactly which stage you're in right now so you can stop doing the wrong work for where you actually are. In case we haven't met, I'm Maghalie Renee. I went from divorce with $8 in my bank account, terrified to be seen, to speaking on global stages, building a 6-figure business from nothing, and living a life entirely on my own terms. I walked through every single one of these stages the hard way, and I'm going to map out the entire thing so you don't have to. Let's get straight into it. Here's what nobody tells you about confidence. Most women think confidence is one thing. Either you have it or you don't. You're either the woman that walks into the room and owns it, or you're the one standing by the wall hoping nobody notices you. And that binary, confident or not confident, is one of the most damaging lies we have been sold. I went from shaking and second guessing myself in 5-person conference room, literally with 5 people, to feeling completely powerful in my own skin, even when I was broadcasting to millions of people on Good Morning America. It took me decades to learn what it takes to have such a huge leap of confidence and to reinvent yourself, and I'll share it with you in this short video. I've come to see my process as a progression through 4 very distinct stages. And each stage has its own psychology, its own traps, its own version of stuck, and its own specific work that needs to happen before you can move to the next one. And here's why this matters. If you're in stage 1 but you're trying to do stage 3 work, it will not land. But if you're in stage 3 and you think you're in stage 1, you'll stay small, even when you're actually ready to expand. The reason most women feel that things don't stick isn't because there's something wrong with them. It's because they're doing the wrong work for the stages they're actually in. And by the way, there's one stage in particular that is the most dangerous. It's the one where most women get stuck, sometimes for decades, honestly, because it's disguised as success. I was there myself. And I'll tell you which one it is a little later in this video. So what I'm going to do today is walk you through the 4 stages. I'm going to tell you exactly what each stage looks like in your life, in your confidence, in your patterns. I'm going to tell you what got me stuck at each stage, and I'm going to tell you what it actually takes to level up from each stage. Not in theory, but from my lived experience, because I have been every single one of these women. There are 4 stages, and by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly which one you are in. Before I break these down, I want to share something a little vulnerable. I remember being a fashion publicist in New York City. I was great at my job, but my real dream was being a speaker and being an author, and it felt impossibly out of reach. I was depressed, and I felt a sense of shame for not being happy and satisfied, but I knew I wanted more. That's stage 1. And I didn't know at the time, but I was about to start the progression that would take me through every single stage I'm about to teach you. The difference is I had no map. I had no one saying, here's where you are, here's what to do next, here's what not to do. I was just surviving. And the work I was doing, the self-help books, the affirmations, the trying to think positively, it wasn't wrong. It just wasn't enough for where I was. I needed something different at that stage. And I had to figure that out through years of trial and error. So think of this video as the map I wish someone would have given me, because reinvention is sacred work, but it is easier with a strategy. So what does it actually look like to move through confidence, move through these stages of reinvention, not as a concept, but as a lived experience? Me on the other side of all 4 stages, I understand that confidence and reinvention is not a skill you acquire. It is an identity you grow into. And once I understood that, once I stopped trying to get confident and started doing the specific work for the specific stage I was in, everything shifted. The speaking career, the business, the relationships, I wrote a book, the peace that I had, all of it. Okay, so enough setup. Let me break it down stage by stage. And I want you to be honest with yourself as we go through these, because the woman who's honest about where she actually is will quantum leap the fastest. Okay, stage 1 is the core confidence newbie. And I want to start by saying there is zero shame in being here, absolutely zero, because most women who are in this stage have just been through something, a divorce, a job loss, a life-altering event that shook the foundation of who they thought they were. And now they're standing in the mess going, who am I now? Here's what life looks like in that stage. You are surviving, not thriving. And you know you're not thriving, which is almost worse, actually, because you can see the gap between where you are and where you want to be. But that gap feels impossibly wide. Your dream, whatever it is, the business, a new career, the life you actually want, it may feel out of reach. Like it exists in a different world for a different kind of woman. You don't have a plan. You might have wishes. You might have a Pinterest board. You might have a journal full of ideas, but an actual plan, no. Because how do you make a plan when you're not even sure who you are anymore? And here's what's happening underneath all of that. That depression, that frustration, that low grade heaviness that sits on top of everything, that fog that makes even small decisions feel exhausting. There's shaming, there's blaming yourself, maybe others, maybe the situation, God, the universe, your ex, your boss, whoever. And there's that feeling of being unfulfilled, of being in a rut, of being stuck in a way that feels permanent, even though intellectually you know that it's not. Your confidence in this stage exists only in moments. You might have a good day when you feel like yourself again, like the old you, capable of everything, can handle things. And then the next day it's gone. It's like you're trying to hold water with your hands. You feel it for a second and then it slips through. And for some of you, it's possible that you've never really experienced what I call true confidence, the kind that lives in your body, not just in your head, the kind that doesn't leave when circumstances change. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, that's me, that is exactly me, hold on, because I'm going to tell you the single biggest mistake that women at this stage make that keeps them here for years longer than they need to be. I know firsthand. But first, I want to show you the full picture of what stage one actually looked like in my life so that it really lands. After my divorce, I was deep in stage one. And what made it even worse was that I had been successful before. I had been confident before, or at least I thought I had. So now I wasn't just dealing with like low confidence. I was dealing with the shame of losing confidence I thought I already had. Like I used to be able to do this. What happened to me? Can you relate to that? And I'm going to tell you what I wish someone would have told me back then. Nothing happened to you. Your old confidence was built on a foundation that just got demolished, the marriage, the career, the identity, and now you're being asked to build something new, a new kind of confidence, a real kind, one that doesn't depend on anything external to exist. And that process starts here, in the middle of the drama, in the middle of the mess. So how do you level up from stage one? Here's what I learned. First, you do the inner work. And I don't mean in that vague, go meditate kind of way. I mean, you get honest with yourself about what you're actually feeling. The grief, the anger, the fear, the shame, all of it. You stop running from it. You don't numb. You stop performing the I'm fine for everyone around you. You face it, you feel it, and you let yourself heal it, okay? Face it, feel it, heal it. I want you to be brave enough to do that. I had to be brave enough to face and feel exactly what I needed to heal. And I had to stop beating myself up for why confidence tactics weren't sticking. Women stay stuck for years because they skip the inner work and jump straight into strategy. They read a book about confidence, they try to apply it, it doesn't stick, and then they're thinking that they're the problem. I remember this being so much the case for me when I was watching Amy Cuddy's TED Talk. I don't know if you all heard of her, but phenomenal TED Talk on the power pose. And so I thought that I would get over my confidence blocked by standing in the mirror and doing this pose, this sort of superhero pose. And I gotta be honest, it didn't work for me. It didn't work for me. It didn't stick. I had moments where, okay, I could feel a little bit better before going out and doing a presentation or something. But overall, for a long-term shift in my life, a change in who I saw myself to be, a change in my identity, that did not work for me. I wasn't the problem. The problem is avoiding the inner work and thinking that a strategy is going to fix my confidence, is going to fix your confidence. That's not it. You've got to focus on the inner pieces. Second, you create a container and a structure. That means when your life is in chaos, you need something that holds you, a routine, a practice, a non-negotiable commitment to yourself that says, every day I do this because I love myself. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. It just needs to be yours. And it has to be consistent because consistency is the key. It's what your nervous system needs to start trusting that you are safe again. What I did in those moments is I meditated. I couldn't stay calm-minded for a long period of time, and I couldn't meditate without some support. So I used a guide, a meditation guide, and I did it for 10 minutes every single day. And literally, it helped me start to transform myself into a calmer, more grounded person. I felt sort of this safety in myself and this connection with God, the universe. And that helped me every day get through really, really, really hard periods of my life. Third, you choose the process, not 17 processes, not the processes the book is telling you to do, or the podcast, or the course, or even this video, or right, the YouTube rabbit hole at 2 a.m. That's not what I want you to do. You got to pick one process, one container for your growth, and commit to it. So it needs to be something that feels good to you, feels grounding, feels filling, feels nurturing, something that really empowers you. Could be anything, could be a bath. Maybe you take an Epsom salt and lavender bath every night. What is it going to be for you? Something that you can be, do, and have consistently in your life. Okay, fourth, this one is a tricky one because I hate this word, but you've got to embrace discipline. And what does that look like? I tend to prefer the word devotion, because devotion at this stage isn't about grinding. It's about showing up for yourself even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it, because that's consistency. So your confidence is going to build, your nervous system is going to ground down because you are being consistent and you are devoted to yourself. So make it a devotional practice. Fifth, you develop yourself. So you're doing that through therapy, through books, through videos, self-help programs, education. You've got to find something. It could even be art. You got to find something to pour yourself into, because in your next chapter, you're going to need new tools. And I call this the sacred toolkit. And after working with hundreds of women and bringing them through their reinvention, I can tell you the ones who are white knuckling life are not the ones who actually shift and transform. The ones who do the inner work first before anything external, they shift themselves quickly. That's the shift that most people miss. So what had to change for me at this stage? I had to be brave enough to face what wasn't working, to feel the pain, and then to literally choose to heal it. Full stop. I had to stop beating myself up for white confidence tactics in the books that I was reading weren't sticking. Positive affirmations don't work when your nervous system is in survival mode. Visualization doesn't work when you can't see past next week. But I wasn't broken. I was just trying to use stage 3 tactics in my stage 1 reality. And once I understood that, I gave myself permission to start where I actually was. And that brings us to stage 2. Because once you do that foundational work, once you start to stabilize, the fog starts to lift, once you can go a whole week without completely falling apart, maybe a couple of days, something shifts. You're not fully confident yet, but you're not drowning anymore. And that's when you enter what I call the breakthrough creator stage. And I will tell you right now, stage 2 has a trap door that almost nobody sees coming. It feels like progress. It feels like you're moving forward, but there is something you've got to be aware of so that you can move through it and not get stuck.